This month and Women's Day commemorations, the Democratic Alliance in the Eastern Cape is putting the spotlight on the plight of homelessness in terms of women and children. DA leaders and activists are gathered at Gqeberha City Hall to present a memorandum to the Office of the Speaker, urging local and provincial governments to take immediate action. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema joins us now from outside the City Hall. Sipha, good afternoon and thank you for your time. Now, quite often when women are displaced and are homeless, children bear that brunt, and we're seeing quite an increase in homelessness in the Eastern Cape.
Absolutely, Gqeberha. And right now where I am, we've wrapped up at the City Hall in Gqeberha, but now we are at the Port Elizabeth Rape Crisis Center. We're going to speak to a social worker that normally works with homeless women, and more especially those that have resorted to a sex worker because of being homeless, leaving their homes because of gender-based violence or sexual abuse, and they have nowhere else to go. Now, earlier on, Gqeberha, I gave the stats on the number of homeless people in South Africa. We're looking at, according to the census in 2022, just over 55,000 people in South Africa are homeless. And of that 55,000, just over 44,000 actually have no roof over their head, while 11,000 of those are actually kept in shelters. But we're going to speak to Busi Dlamini now, who's a social worker at the Port Elizabeth Rape Crisis Center. And she speaks and she helps and works with some of these homeless women. I mean, just not far from here, Gqeberha, there is a bridge just about less than 800 meters, sorry, actually. And if you were to go there, you would think that that is actually an informal settlement where we see a number of homeless people that have taken under the bridge for shelter. They have a fully fledged, settlement going on there with clothes on the lines. But this is an issue, especially for women, because women are most liable to criminal activities and abuse whilst out on the streets. Some of them even forced to become sex workers because of having nowhere to go and wanting to survive on the streets. And that's exactly what Busi is going to be talking to us about here today. Thank you so much, Busi, for joining us. Let's first start off with looking at homelessness. Yes, Nelson Mandela Bay might not be as bad as Gauteng or the city of Cape Town, but it's starting to get there. We're seeing an increase of homeless women, more especially with those with children.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Sipha, for the opportunity and allowing Rape Crisis Center to share their opinion or their views since we're working with the homeless people. Firstly, I will say homeless is in the rise in Port Elizabeth. I think it's country-wise issue, but it is in the rise, and we have seen it that there's more people that are on the street now, especially women and children as well. So there is definitely a rise in that.
Mm. And now with the work that you are doing, what would you say are the contributing factors to people leaving their homes, more especially the women and children?
Yeah, thank you for that, Sipha. There's a lot. There's a lot. Firstly, if I can state that we have a pandemic of GBV, gender-based violence, and domestic violence. Those are one of the contributing factors that, for example, you have a client that comes from Pretoria to Port Elizabeth with a partner, and they find that now things are not working. Maybe the partner is violent and abusing her, and then she end up not having money to go home, and she goes to the street and find the other ways of living. Those are one of the contributing factor. And we also find that there's people that grow up in their home that is not, that it's domestic violence that is happening. You find a person that doesn't have parents. There's no mother, that they passed away, raised by the uncle or the family, other family factors. And then you find that there's an abuse that is happening there. There's a neglect that is happening here. There's no support and there's no care. So you find the person that will result in going to the street to find a safe place. And when they're in the street, they feel like they belong in the street. You know, they find the same person that is experiencing the same situation, and they click, they share their personal experiences, and they create their home space within the street. So those are the most contributing factors. And some also, I won't leave the substance abuse. Because now you find that the person who was exposed to substance abuse in the home base, and now there's other things that, you know, when you use substance, there's other things that you engage in, such as criminality, taking things from your families, and just being the person that is not really wanted in the family. And then now you go out and look for more drugs in the street, and then you find,
Thank you so much, Busi. Thank you for that information. Now, I think Gqeberha Busi just highlighted part of the important parts on what leads to homelessness. And during this Women's Month, the focus would be on women who are homeless, but more especially those that are homeless with their children. And now later on, we will, of course, bring you a package from a homeless woman that is homeless with her child and cannot go to any other shelter because there are no shelters that provide homes or safe space or any form of shelters in the Nelson Mandela Bay for women with children. They only allow people over the ages of 18 years old. So mothers with children and infants and toddlers are left trying to find a safe place, and they end up on the streets or underneath those bridges.
All right, Sipha Kema, thank you so much for that update. Certainly a plight that needs to be looked into, especially for those mothers that are homeless with their children. On to